Edrags are one of the strongest troops in Clash. That is if they go your way. Let's give you 3 of the best Electro Dragon Attack strategies you can use for 3 stars. In the last position, we have Edrag Bat. This is an attack that is pretty much outclassed by its regular variant, the DragBat. This attack strategy is incredibly specific on the base, since it really needs good chain for the Edrags to get good value. If there isn't, then you might as well just use a regular DragBat, which is considered one of the best attacks in Clash. So if you're going to be using the Edrag Bat, you're looking for bases that have at least viable chain that you can hit on other buildings, which is why Edrags work really effective against different bases. So you want them to be more compact. What you also want to look at is the same thing as a DragBat, so you're looking for splash buildings. This includes the Giga Town Halls, the Inferno Towers, Scatter Shots, Eagle Artillery, and of course, Wizard Towers. So you want to make sure that you are looking at those things and trying to remove as many of them as possible. So when you start the Edrag Bat, all you're doing is you are starting off with your funneling, and Edrag is pretty much a funneling troop, but what you should always do is use both of your heroes, your King and Queen, to funnel the other side. This will then allow you to send your Edrags and balloons to go through the middle. You need the balloons there because the Seeking Air Mines take a huge chunk of health away from the Edrags, making them a lot less viable. So try to make sure that you're doing that. Use the Rage and Grand Warren ability early, since for this attack, Edrags are very spell hungry and they very much need a Warren ability at the beginning. Otherwise, you got the Battle Blimp to go across to remove the Town Hall if it is a Giga Town Hall. Otherwise, that should go down, and that will allow you to start your bats. Typically, this is going to be in a bat wave. It's the most effective way to clear them. If you have a Royal Champion, this is where you can send in your Royal Champion. It can really help not just tank if she goes ahead of them, but also deal some really solid damage, and she can easily follow along with the bats. With freeze, try to time them. Wizard Towers have a fair delay when they shoot, but you just want to make sure that you are able to at least freeze them within time. Bring in maybe the use of an Ice Golem if you notice that one is within range of the outside, so you can easily avoid using a freeze spell there. Otherwise, it's a very simple attack strategy, but isn't really something that I would recommend on a lot of bases. Before we move to second place, we have got your army composition, which I will leave a link down below in the description alongside having the CC here. Surgical Edrags are up next in our second position. It is one of the hardest attacks to use in Clash of Clans, and for it being a spam attack, it's a little crazy. But it does make up for that being one of the strongest Electro Dragon attacks, but it also kind of requires you to really look at the base. A lot of base awareness is kind of required for this one. Typically, you're always using 3 different funnels for this, which is always what you want to look for in a base. You're looking for a spot to use 2 Edrags and a Rage. Usually it's to get a good amount of value like the Town Hall or just a different corner. Another corner is going to be done with the Flame Flinger, and a third one done with an Edrag or an Edrag plus Rage. Otherwise, you're always looking for a lot of chain within the core. You need to gut as much of the base as you can, so your heroes have an easy time steamrolling the rest of it. So if you are planning on still using this, typically I would always recommend 2 Edrags and a single Rage against either the Town Hall or an area of the base, usually to get a good amount of value. Typically, what I would always recommend is if you're going into the Town Hall, use 2 super minions. You'll thank me later in how you're able to clear that effectively. Now, otherwise, you'll use the Flame Flinger on another corner. Try to look for an Inferno Tower, but try to also avoid Expos as much as humanly possible, as those ground Expos or even air and ground Expos will shut down your Flame Flinger, so you got to be really careful with that. The other funnel that you'll be making is on another corner, which is going to be using an Electro Dragon. You can bring in the use of a Rage spell if you want to remove an air defense, and you're able to do so with the predictable chain that you might have. You'll then allow yourself to either send in your Edrags between either one of your 2 funnels. Otherwise, when you send in your Edrags, you turn your brain off and into Edrag spam mode. This is the easiest part of the attack. Pretty much you're sending in the Grand Warden with this, and you're using that Warden ability to protect the Edrags as much as possible. Otherwise, you're doing the same thing as a regular mass Edrag. 2 rage spells usually at the very beginning, going through the base, and if the Town Hall is still up, you should always try to go in for that. Free spells against heavy, hard-hitting defenses like single infernos, air defenses, etc. Even the Town Hall is something that you should freeze up if you didn't remove it. Otherwise, the final part of your attack is your heroes, and they can easily steamroll this, so it is definitely recommended to have the Royal Champion go with them so she can clear any defenses that other heroes can't remove. And if you have any extra spells, you might want to use them with the Royal Champion so she can get a good amount of value and stay up for a lot longer. Before we move on to first place, let's give you the army composition for the Surgical Edrags alongside the CC. I'll have the army link down below in the description for you to check out. Consider using my creator code CORRUPT. It really helps the channel and is greatly appreciated, my friends. And of course, one of the best Edrag attacks to use right now is the Mass Edrag, of course. It is one of the strongest attacks to use right now. We're seeing it even at the highest level gameplay right now, which is why I would consider it to be very consistent and pretty strong. Now, not only that, yes, it can still fail, but it is a lot better to use in general than the other 2 variations that I talked about. In terms of this, you're always looking at bases like ring bases since it works incredibly efficiently, but also bases that have a decent amount of chain. It doesn't need to have amazing amounts of chain, it just needs to have a viable amount to where Edrags can easily clear through. Just remember that their weakness is spread out bases, so this is not going to work against bases that have a lot of buildings spread out, where you can get very minimal, if any, chain at all. Now, in order to use them, you are going to pretty much create 2 different funnels. You're going to use your king and queen on one side, using an Electro Dragon or Baby Dragon if you want to be cost effective on the other side. What you will then do is spam in your Edrags, then your balloons, send your Grand Warden in, and then place 2 rage spells with a Grand Warden ability. But of course, you still have your siege machine. Typically, the Battle Blimp is the best siege, especially above Town Hall 12 and above, so this is why you should probably bring it in most cases. Of course, though, you can always bring in the use of the Stone Slammer, but it really kind of depends. You want to use free spells similar to how I mentioned it with the Surgical Edrag. Air defenses, anything that's really going to hit them pretty hard, even multi-infernos, is something that you should put on your priority list. Otherwise, the back end of the base is using your Royal Champion if you have it. This is a very simple approach to this. The RC just gives you a better back end support, which makes this attack go from meh to a bit more consistent at higher levels. Otherwise, these are the 3 best Electro Dragon attacks that you will want to use in the current game. Of course, we've got some army composition links for you, for those of you who want to use the Mass Electro Dragon attack. The links to them are in the description alongside pretty much the CC that I would recommend regardless of your Town Hall level. Now, this is the first time I'm doing a top 3 for a specific troop, so let me know what you think about it. Consider checking out my Zapwitch video, which is right here for you guys to check out if you haven't yet, but of course, make sure to check out this video as well, since YouTube says this is the best video for you. I'll be catching you in the next video. Corrupt, signing out.